platforms, by a bunch of other, like, there's so much shit that is politics.
Part video series exploring the roles and representations of women in video games. This project will examine the tropes, plot devices, and patterns most women ever got to play. Back in 1999, game developers.
Hey X, been here since
the term
2019.
damsel in distress is a translation of the French demoiselle en détresse. Demoiselle simply means young lady, while détresse appears in 14 of the core Super Mario Bros. Platformer games, and she's kidnapped in 13 of them. The North American release of Super Mario Bros. 2 in 1988 remains the only game in the core series in which Peach is not kidnapped, and also the only game in which she's a playable character. Though it should be noted, it wasn't originally created to be a Mario game at all. The game was originally released in Japan under a completely different title called Yumi Kojo Doki Doki Panic, which roughly translates to Dream Factory Heart Pounding Panic.
I don't... What's the problem then?
Nintendo of America thought that the original Japanese release of Super Mario Bros. 2 was too difficult and too similar to the first game, so they reskinned and redesigned Doki Doki Panic to star Mario and Luigi instead. However, the Japanese game already had 4 playable characters.
Classic.
So the designers opted to include Toad and the Princess to fill the 2 remaining slots, building directly on top of the pre-existing character models. So really, if we're honest, Peach is kind of accidentally playable in this one. Still, she had the awesome ability to float for short distances, which came in really handy, especially in the ice levels.
Wait, no, you can't. Wait, accidentally playable? Huh?
Sadly, Peach has never been a playable character again in the main franchise. Even with newer games that feature 4-player options like the new Super Mario Bros. Wii and Wii U, the Princess is still excluded from the action. She's been replaced with another Toad instead, as to allow Nintendo to force her back into the Damsel role again and again. Peach does of course appear in many spin-offs such as the Mario Party, Mario Sports, and Mario Kart series, as well as the Super Smash Bros. Nintendo Universe crossover fighting games. However, all of these spin-offs fall well outside of the core Super Mario series of platformers. She is the star of only one adventure, and we'll get to that a little later.
Yo, because people bought into the story of saving Peach. You buy the game, it says save Peach, you save Peach. When the fuck are you gonna say, oh, now play as Peach? Buddy, that's not the fucking game. Buddy, it's not the game. It's just not, you can't get mad. It's not being put in as, guys, it's like if, dude, you know what I mean? Like,
one way to think about Damsel's characters is via what's called the subject.
yes, it's like if I'm a pro AI guy. I'm so pro AI. In Star Wars Lego, you play as the Jedi, but what about the Clanker? Why do we always hurt the Clanker? I want to be the Clanker. I mean, fuck you. I mean, buddy, that's not the story of this fucking game. Play another
Object
game.
dichotomy. In the simplest terms, subjects act, and objects are acted upon. The subject is the protagonist, the one who the story is centered on, and the one doing most of the action. In video games, this is almost always the main playable character, and the one from whose perspective most of the story is seen. So the damsel trope typically makes men the subject of narratives, while relegating women to the role of object. This is a form of objectification, because as objects, damseled women are being acted upon, most often becoming or reduced to a prize to be won, a treasure to be found, or a goal to be achieved. The brief intro sequence accompanying many classic arcade games tends to reinforce the framing of women as a possession that's been stolen from the protagonist.
Okay. Wanting to get the girl doesn't mean that you want to get the object girl. It means that you want to be the knight in shining armor that achieves the thing that will impress the girl, to be with the girl and to share time with the girl. It's inclusive. Like, it's the narrative of this story. They're trying to impress the girl to potentially have a chance with her, and if not, then so be it. I mean, how would that be an object? Why does being with the girl automatically become you have her in your pocket and you yo, what's up, man? Like, what the fuck is that? These are men-dominated
She's definitely got more
endeavors.
armpit hair
Okay,
than you.
at least at the time, for sure, super dominated. Okay, imagine trying to sell a game where you're this lady, whatever, and you have to save a hot, muscular man to go kiss him on the lips. Like, buddy, ain't nobody playing that shit. Nobody's buying that shit. Nobody gives a shit. There's a few games that have that, like Lara Croft, Tomb Raider, right? But it has to be introduced with finesse, which is what Mario does. They introduce these things with tact and finesse. They build it in a way that the characters feel like they deserve their role. It's why nobody gives a fuck about a character that's a girl or female, whatever you. If they're worthy of that role, that if they build a narrative well enough. I mean, in not Life is Strange, in Last of Us, no, we're playing as a fridge for half the game. People still bought it. People still played it. Because for some people, at least, they had built the narrative well enough to be worthy of that.
The hero's fight to retrieve his stolen property then provides the lazy justification for the actual gameplay. At its heart, the damsel trope is not really about women at all. She simply becomes the central object in a competition between men, at least in its traditional incarnations. I've heard it said that in the game of patriarchy, women are not the opposing team, they are the ball. So for example, we can think of the Super Mario franchise as a grand game being played between Mario and Bowser, and Princess Peach's role is essentially that of the ball.
Mario!
Buddy, no, bro, the guy's got her encaged. He's got her prisoner. The guy's holding her in her castle against her will. She doesn't want that. If anything,
The two men are
she has to be liberated, and that liberation, perhaps he had a chance. Mario in this role is not forceful. Like, Mario isn't being putting in a position like that. He's releasing her from that position. Like, we don't even care if he. Chat, even in the early games, do we see her kiss her? Do we see her grab her like, you come in here with me? No, you had her, now it's mine now. No, it doesn't do all that. So how is she a ball then? It doesn't do all that.
tossing her back and forth over the course of the main series, each trying to keep and take possession of the Damsel Ball. Even though Nintendo certainly didn't invent the damsel in distress, the popularity of their Save the Princess formula essentially set the standard for the industry. The trope quickly became the go-to motivational hook for developers, as it provided an easy way to tap into adolescent male power fantasies, in order to sell more games to young straight boys and men.
Help me! Help me! Help!
I mean, chat, if that was the narrative in that sense, wouldn't you be the Bowser? I mean, in that sense, then you would play the game as Bowser, and you try to engage Peach for you because Mario is dating her. I mean, in the way she's portraying it, that would be what she's describing.
Please!
Because the fantasy wouldn't be to have the ball; it would be to impress her, to do something worthy enough of her attention. Like, it's romance. It's everything that, bro. Oh, I can't.
Throughout the 80s and 90s, the trope became so prevalent that it would be nearly impossible to mention them all. There were literally hundreds of examples showing up in platformers, side-scrolling beat-em-ups, first-person shooters, and role-playing games alike. Let's take a quick moment to clear up some common misconceptions about this trope. As a plot device, the damsel in distress is often grouped with other separate tropes, including the designated victim, the heroic rescue, and the smooch of victory. However, it's important to remember that these associated conventions are not necessarily a part of the damsel in distress trope itself. So the woman in question may or may not play the victim role for the entire game or series, while our brave hero may or may not be successful in his rescue attempt. All that is really required to fulfill the damsel in distress trope is for a female character to be reduced to a state of helplessness from which she requires rescuing by a typically male hero for the benefit of his story arc. This brings us to the other famous Nintendo princess. In 1986, Shigeru Miyamoto doubled down on his damsel in distress formula with the NES release of The Legend of Zelda.
Even if that were the case, why would that be a problem? Like you would have to you would have to go at length on why that's a problem.
This was the first in what would become one of the most beloved action-adventure game franchises of all time.
The Legend of Zelda continues.
Find the crystals. Rescue the princess.
Zelda 2, the adventure of Nintendo. Now you're playing with power.
Over the course of more than a dozen games spanning a quarter century, all of the incarnations of Princess Zelda have been kidnapped, cursed, possessed, turned to stone, or otherwise disempowered at some point.
Welcome to
Zelda has never been a
Jungle.
star in her own adventure.
Okay, I'm done with this
nor
video.
been a
I'll go
true
next.
playable character